Hello and welcome to the fresh start into 2025 with a new devlog. And there have been some big changes over the holidays. But first, let me talk real quick about some change of plans regarding the art for this game, because I originally planned to create all the character art for this game with AI, but I changed my mind about this, which is why I am now looking for an artist that is open to create the character art for me. So, if you happen to know someone, or you are someone who is fine drawing cultured characters in even more cultured situations, feel free to talk to me on my Discord. Requirement is that you have a portfolio I can check out and that you can prove that it's actually yours. Also, I just need regular high-resolution images and will do all the rigging and animating myself. You will work on a commission basis and get paid per piece, but we can also negotiate a percentage deal if I ever happen to sell this game, depending on how open you are to actually become a longer-lasting member of this project. Okay, enough talk. Let's showcase what I did over the last week. First, I added a simple wrapper to quickly add non-changing tooltips to any control element. Nothing particular exciting, but these things are convenient and important to talk about. I also added tooltips to the enjoyment counter, as you can see here. I like to do these things in early stages of development, even if it's probably not the time to bother about such minute details yet. But this is just how I work. I like to make pretty prototypes. Also, I decided not to bother about the localization file for UI and tooltips, because I decided that English is okay to be the only language for the UI, but I will definitely add a way to localize and translate the visual novel parts of the game. Okay, this one gave me a headache. Not because of the implementation, that was actually quite easy. No, but finding the right word… Jeez. You see, I needed a name for the damage that a servant deals within a customer interaction. So, after a lot of back and forth, I settled for the word skill as a general term. So, skill is now our combat damage, and we need a counter stat for that, which is expectation. I know it sounds a bit weird, but it's the only thing that remotely caught the gist of what it represents. And these stats also get displayed on the side portraits. And this was actually the second headache I came across, because it took me hours to figure out a design that looks visually pleasing for this. So yeah, the top left number is the skill number and the bottom right number is the expectation number. Oh, and as you can see, I also added a little cute glow animation when the values change. Tweens are actually awesome. It's one of those features of Godot that I don't want to miss. It's so easy to create little cute animations like this in just a few seconds of coding. Oh yeah, you have probably seen it already, but I added the actual gameplay damage calculation as well while I was working on this. And it's rather simple. The skill of the servant minus the expectation of the customer equals the amount of points that you add to the customer's enjoyment bar. So, for example, in this case, Mikisa's skill value is 7 and the customer's expectation value is 3. So the enjoyment that the customer gains is 4. And for the servant, we do the same calculation, just that we take the skill of the customer and the expectation of the servant, and then we calculate the result. Currently, the game only displays these value changes as plain text on the UI element, but later on I will add little icons and different colors and maybe a different font to beautify it a little. Which brings me to the elephant in the room, because we want to spice up these interactions with the multiple choice events we created earlier. So I needed a system to register these events to the game, and then have another system, like an event solver, that selects from these events to play during the customer interactions. So I created a new class called Event Data, and this class basically holds a huge array of exports for conditions of the event, trigger chance, all displayed choices, etc. And yes, unfortunately, I had to hard-code the amount of choices with static exports, because currently Godot doesn't allow dynamic sets of exports, which is a bit ugly, but it works. And let's face it, we probably will never need more than 4 options anyway. So how do I add an event to the registry now and tell the game to play it? Okay, check this out. I just open up the customer template, add a new instantiated child node, select the event data object, and boom, event added to the game. And now I can freely edit the parameters like trigger chance, so let's set it to 0.5 for testing purposes, add some text, set up a choice button, and we can test it. And as you can see now, the event triggers, and I can click the button and the event closes, and the customer interaction continues as normal. Also, the event doesn't ever show up again, because the default setting is non-repeatable. But this is actually a boolean you can define for each event, so if you want repeatable events, you can create them. Also, every event has a unique identifying string that you can define. With this identifying string, you can put another event as a condition for this event to trigger. So say, I want to create a second event that only triggers when the first has already happened. So I create a second event and reference the identifier of the first event as a condition for the second. And now when I test it, the second event only triggers after the first event has happened. But currently the choice buttons don't do anything, so let's change that. Every choice button has a dictionary holding the choice effect data, and these are pre-made keys that you can freely add to set the values for each event. And I added all the keys as a default to the dictionary here so that I don't have to remember them. So for example, let's set this choice to increase the skill value of the servant by 3 when selected. And as you can see now, if I click the choice, then the value properly increases. Awesome. But that's not all. What if I want to nest multiple choice dialogues after each other? Well, I also thought about this and added a key to the dictionary that allows defining a follow-up event. So let's add a second choice that will trigger the other multiple choice window we made earlier. So I add the identifier of the second event to the choice as a follow-up. And this will ignore all conditions, so the event will fire no matter what the trigger chance of the event is. And as you can see, as soon as I press the second option, the other event plays just as we set it up to do. Not gonna lie, the code behind all this is a mess. Mainly because I had to work around the static exports. Because I actually had to copy and paste a part of the code 4 times. But you know what? It works, and considering how powerful it is and how little input is needed to set up content, I think it's an acceptable trade-off. Another thing I added to the multiple choice window was the ability to display both static images and actual 2D nodes. And this is basically me preparing for the situation in which I want to display animated 2D models here. So for now, let's add an image to display, just for good measure. And as you can see, the image shows up when the event is played. Great! So yeah, that's the event registry system and the event solver. And with that, I basically have all the tools to create the first customer interactions. Woohoo! But that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. See you around!